What is the most useless fact you know? Snapple bottle caps have useless facts on them. Snapple bottle caps have useless facts on them. I would love it if they had this as one of the facts. Most toilets flush in E-flat. The Stegosaurus is as ancient to the Triceratops as the Triceratops is to us. I'm like 40 useless facts into this thread, and this one is the most mind-blowing by far. Putting time frames into perspective like that is just crazy to me. Then there's the oft-repeated fun fact that Cleopatra lived closer in time to the moon landings than to the construction of the Great Pyramid. And that she was Greek and not Egyptian. Although she was the first of her dynasty that actually bothered to learn the language. She was also the last. So the language bit might not have helped all that much after all. Allspice is just one spice. You can get arrested for whale fishing in Nebraska. Also Utah. As a matter of fact. Interesting, so many landlocked states have that kind of law. Well, living in Utah currently, I can tell you I never knew that. Luckily. You've probably also never come into conflict with it. Well, hopefully. Dannebrog. The national flag of Denmark is the world's oldest continuously used national flag. The fruit fly Drosophila bifurca is only a few millimeters in size but produces almost 6 centimeters long sperm. If we escalated it to human size, a 6-foot-tall man would have a sperm 120 feet long. What the? How the HL does that work? A little misleading. Completely true. But it's all coiled up and remains coiled up when in the female. It's about like explaining how your small intestine is longer than you are tall. Koalas have smooth brain and therefore lack higher processing skills, so if you picked a bunch of eucalyptus leaves and put it in front of a koala, it would just stare at them and not realize they are food. A second is called a second because it is the second division. Pars minuta secunda. Of the hour by 60. The first division being a minute. Pars minuta prima. I mixed fruit tea and chocolate-flavored milk once and it tasted like absolutely nothing. But what does nothing taste like? The dot over the I and J is called a tittle. That name makes me titter. We all start out as an AE with a mouth. They are the first things to form in the womb. In my case, they were also the last. There are more homosexual giraffes than there are heterosexual ones. Male giraffes will also headbutt a female in the bladder until she urinates. Then it tastes the pee to help it determine whether or not the female is ovulating. Same. I laughed and now have to pee. Is this another one of your tricks? The human body can live for 3 days without skin. The barnacle is an animal with the biggest PS length to size ratio. Dumpster is a brand name. Like Kleenex. Update. 2 people pointed out that the trademark was cancelled in 2015. So for the other 2 people who suggested my mom trademark the name CM Dumpster, I suppose now she could. And rollerblade and jacuzzi. And popsicle. And Band-Aid. BMWs have turn signals. Saw a stolen BMW the other day. How could you tell? Quote, the driver used the turn signals. Even the neutrino radiation from a supernova is lethal at a distance of a few Assuming you survived everything else. Bologna and Modena, 2 city-states in Italy, went to war with each other briefly for a variety of pretty stupid and pointless reasons. The war ended when the Modenese soldiers chased the Bolognese forces back to their city. Threw a massive party outside the city gates. And as a final fuck you, stole Bologna's bucket for the city well. The bucket is still on display in the Modena town hall. Whales have 2-meter-long penises. They also have bones in them. Yeah, the whales wouldn't be able to swim without bones probably. Ants are immune to fall damage. Their terminal velocity is not fast enough to harm them. All the swans in England belong to the Queen. It is also illegal in UK to handle a salmon suspiciously. Curious as to what does suspicious mean in UK when comes to salmon. Probably looking fishy. Nintendo and the Ottoman Empire existed at the same time. Tapirs have a prehensile PS similar to an arm. And it's longer than they are. It directly puts SN in the cervix. Wheel that's efficient. Here is the tapir in all its strangely fascinating oddity. Tapir with fifth leg. Jesus, I kind of feel bad for it, lol. Imagine your DK always dragging on the ground and having to avoid stepping on it. Obsidian is so sharp that it can cut your DNA. Not so useless. The machine I used to prep slides of biological material for an electron microscope used broken glass as a blade. Whoever made that tool was napping on the job. So what happens if you accidentally cut yourself with obsidian? Did you know that a box jellyfish has 64 anuses? I should know. I am the Australian jellyfish. The airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow. European. Is 11 meters per second or 24 miles per hour. What about an African swallow? Once useful but not really useful now. Cab mounts on early 1970s Ford F-100s were prone to rusting through, causing the cab to rest on the steering column. It takes 11-20 licks and a boring, long car trip to completely remove the candy coating from around the Tootsie Pop, fully exposing the Tootsie Roll center. Edit. I recognize that this is a different criteria than the query originally issued by the commercial. To get to the center implies the first time breaking the surface of the candy coating. Judging by the comments, this seems more around 200 to 500 licks. My criteria for completion was different. But I do regret not stopping to note the more popular criteria for success. Edit 2. Yes, tongue length and width will likely make a difference. In my case, I remember trying to take fairly uniform licks that were roughly 1.5 to 2 inches of a relaxed, which allows for greater width of tangential contact surface. Doing a single pass. Now that I reflect, it was likely more Tootsie Pop being pulled over the tongue than the other way around. All outside if the actual oral cavity. To prevent interference with cheeks, lips, and general humidity. Occasional nom-nom-nomming of the mouth to refresh the palate. Saliva. And remove extraneous sugar from the licking surface. The information we need, but not deserve. Thank you for your service. Not to be pedantic, but doesn't the amount of licks vary based on the amount of saliva and the size of your tongue? So wouldn't everyone have a different amount of licks? Regardless, I thank you for your sacrifice and dedication. Did this as an experiment in middle school. You're absolutely correct. Every student got a different number and it was obvious that licking technique was the largest deciding factor. Color blindness affects on average 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women. The reason for this is because genes for the red and green color receptors are located on the X chromosome. Men have only one X chromosome but women have 2. I don't have depth perception and my good friend does not have red-green color vision. One time we were in one of those parking lots with the little lights that turn red when a spot is filled and green when it was empty. And I asked my friend, is that spot open, because I couldn't tell what light corresponded to what spot, and he told me, I have no FG clue, and one of the girls in the back seat almost peed herself laughing. We had to argue with a coworker once to convince him he was actually colorblind. We asked him that if traffic lights were sideways, would he be able to tell the difference? His response, of course not. They're too similar of colors. Quote, a coworker went shopping without his girlfriend and got amazing pair of gray shoes he couldn't wait to wear to work. We were only allowed gray and black shoes. This guy came in bright red shoes. They were nice Nike shoes and we all liked him, so we obviously wanted to know where we can get them. Not for work. So he came back for a week straight till we started to question ourselves and if we should tell him. A tomato is a vegetable. It is also a fruit. But by that logic, so are cucumbers and peppers. and broccoli is the stem and leaves, flowers of the plant, and potatoes and carrots are roots. Nobody ever says, a carrot isn't a vegetable. It's actually a root. Quote, vegetable is a culinary term. It has nothing to do with what part of the plant you are talking about. It simply refers to edible plant parts, and usually specifies that they are used in savory dishes. This matters because it doesn't. Bananas are berries. So are watermelons, and cucumbers, and aubergines. An acronym is when you say the word it represents, like NASA or NATO. It creates a new word. An initialism is a subset of acronym, where each letter needs to be pronounced CEO or HDMI. Edit. I can't believe I took the time to defend the most useless fact I know. The spelled out form of an acronym or initialism, that is, what it stands for, is called its expansion. Wikipedia. Of course they're both abbreviations. Almost all mammals larger than a rat take the same amount of time to empty their bladder, with the time averaging 21 seconds. I wonder who found this out. Imagine going to the bathroom, and next to you your cat goes into its litter box. Then you both finish roughly at the same time and you go, "Huh, that was odd." Quote, Franz Pistheimer in the 14th century. Edit. Oh cool. Silver. Thanks. For more information on Franz Pistheimer, visit your local library and urinate for exactly 21 seconds while maintaining eye contact with the librarian. She'll know what it means. Tasmanian devils got their name due to their howling. Early European settlers heard them howl during the night and thought it was the devil coming for them. I would literally st myself if I heard their howl. Day or night. Holy Jesus. Confirmed. But also, aren't they cute? Link. Jesus. Australia really has the world's craziest animals. Keeping your rubber bands in the fridge will make them last longer. Liechtenstein is the world's largest producer of false teeth. A truly useless fact. I like this one. It's also one of only 2 double landlocked countries in the world, Uzbekistan being the other. For anyone curious, a duck's PS is in the shape of a corkscrew. However, a duck VA is in the shape of a corkscrew but turns other direction, making it more difficult for male ducks to rape females. The VA even had dead ends to further fool the male. Doesn't stop them. I live by a river, and can confirm that male ducks will rape anything even vaguely duck-shaped or sized. Dead ducks, live seagulls, abandoned shoes, bundles of driftwood, anything really. Dead ends and false wombs. BRB. Releasing an album. Penguins have knees. Female fish will often fake orgasms so they can leave and get a better partner. Elephants can move their skin to crush mosquitoes between their rolls of skin. Is it possible to learn this power? My 600 pounds life has entered the chat. Due to the presence of ethanol and certain chemical compounds found in raspberries. The center of the Milky Way galaxy smells like raspberry vodka. When hippos st their tails spin, which brings a whole new meaning to st hit the fan. Spread the love, baby. That's how they find their way back to the water. As they feed at night, they leave a Hansel and Gretel style breadcrumb trail of st. Niggardly is a word that frequently gets people in trouble because of how racist it is. However, it is completely different from the N-word and comes from completely different etymological roots. The N-word comes from the Latin for black. Niggardly comes from the Old English word, which was probably stolen from Old Norse, for stingy. Quote, it's useless because even if you're using it correctly, someone could still get offended and it is not worth the fight. If someone gets their jimmies rustled, they are not going to want to listen to a lecture about why the air technically wrong. You could end up getting in all kinds of trouble. And for what? Because you wanted to use an obsolete word? The upvote button's color. 255. 69. 00. RGB is called orange-red. Horses can't throw up. If they do, they're close to death. Useless information for me. I have a horse girl friend. She says horses are very fragile creatures and are always close to dying over something stupid. I've owned horses my whole life. And I'm almost 50. So that's saying something. It's like they actively try to find ways to die. It's correct, they can't throw up. They can colic very easily. And it can kill them. They can break legs just from running in the pasture. I know one that fell and died instantly from breaking his neck while running with his buddies. They are beautiful creatures. But fragile in that sense. In contrast, despite being half horse, mules are one of the toughest and most resilient creatures around. In many places in the Western Hemisphere, they've been used for centuries to protect livestock from wolves, coyotes, and mountain lions, because they are borderline fearless and will kick and stomp just about any predator to death. You'd better be a grizzly bear if you want to FK with a mule. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.